Because that's a good one.
We only put after the lease, yes. See, that's how quick. So you chance to look at the docket.
Yeah, I sure did. I got my 5 questions.
I got a few things I.
Yeah, I got a chance to look at it last night.
So Scott, they just sent another thing, but I mean, at some point we have information.
Yeah. You want to send us? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see it here. I don't know if that'll help you at all. It doesn't help you. Right. I don't have that.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
Okay. And I don't have their email. Absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to call the Board of Works and Public Safety meeting to order for March 10th. Nina, would you please do the roll call?
Mayor Lynch?
Here.
Member Finley?
Here.
Member Lewis? Here. Member Sonity? Here. Member Williams?
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Shauna, starting off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everybody, did you get a chance to look at the minutes of the previous meeting?
Yes. I make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the February 25th meeting. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Old business, we have none. New business tag day for Portage Basketball Academy. Would that be you? Please stand up and state your name and.
My name's Andrea.
Okay. So when is your tag day?
I think next weekend and then April 4th. Is that not a Saturday?
It is
April 4th
Saturday.
is?
I'm thinking dates right now.
I think it's the March 21st and April 4th.
So you know the guidelines for
Yeah.
where you're supposed to be in that, okay? And then you're, because sometimes it's hard to know who the people are that you're trying to put money in for.
Right.
So you have clear identification and you have.
Yeah, we have signs and
Okay.
just signs basically.
This is something
Okay.
you've done in the past,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So I will entertain a motion to approve Tag Day for March 21st and April 4th for Portage Basketball Academy.
I will make a motion to approve Portage Basketball Academy for their 2 tag days of March 21st and April the 4th.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Good luck. Yeah. And be careful out there.
You know, we did it, President.
Yes.
We are seeking quotes for 2020 landscape maintenance. Would that be you, AJ?
It's Sandy, but yes, we're seeking your authorization to advertise for landscape maintenance quotes for this year, the rest of the year.
Okay.
And we'd like to, we'll likely present them at the next Board of Works meeting or the second meeting in April.
How many potential vendors do you plan on approaching? Do you have a list that you're sending the RFP to, or how does that take
Yeah,
place?
Sandy's prepared a list of people that she's solicited in past years. If there's new folks that you're aware of that may want to provide a quote, I'll let you know. But she does, yeah, she does have a list.
And what does that entail if we would let someone know?
They would receive a list of the scope of services that would be entailed in that quote.
Okay, so it's mowing and like flower
Mowing, landscape
planting?
beds, yes. Yes.
Okay,
Is this mainly RDC properties?
No, this is, there was also a contract held by the Board of Public Works and Safety.
Okay.
we have a motion to approve the seeking of quotes.
I'll make a motion that we seek those quotes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Just one question, AJ. When you prepare the scope of work and before we approve those contracts, I think as a board, it would behoove us to look at the scope of work and see exactly what the proposed contract or agreement includes.
Okay, understood.
You could just email that to us as well.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, supplemental agreement number 4 for traffic signal.
Yes, this was also brought to you by Sandy. It is a supplemental agreement for engineering services for the traffic signal at Willow Creek Middle School and the Meadows Shopping Center.
So it's back in again.
It is. We were, late last month, the city was successful in receiving additional funds for that traffic signal. So yes, the traffic signal is back in the project.
And so everybody knows what they're talking about there.
I'd like to know exactly.
I would be interested in more information.
Yes.
Okay, Jay, would you give us a little more information on that, please?
Yes, there's a federal aid project that was started a number of years ago on the segment of Willow Creek Road between Central Avenue and Indiana Toll Road. The funding was received through congestion mitigation and air quality. The functionality of that segment of Willow Creek Road needed some improvement, and it scored well in the federal system. So over the past several years, the city brought on DLZ to serve as the engineer on that project. They've acquired a number of parcels along the property or along the project area that are needed for the project. The project was led in late last year, and a notice to proceed was issued late last year to Walsh and Kelly, who will be serving as a general contractor. The project it started, there's some evidence of work beginning. You'll notice on the west side of Willow Creek Road, there's been some utility poles relocated. but the project in earnest starts at the conclusion of the school year. That they have a very tight window to work from like the first week of June through the first week of August is their substantial completion date. With the signal being reintroduced to the project this late on, it will not be, in all likelihood, it's not going to be installed by substantial completion, but it will be installed by completion of the project.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is that a stoplight, and is that at the entrance to the school parking lot, or would that be Evergreen?
It's going to be Evergreen closes, and it's a signal of the realigned intersection that will be the Meadows Shopping Center, Willow Creek Middle School, and Willow Creek Road.
So you're gonna move the entrance to the middle school?
Yeah, the
To match
entrance
up
to the
with-
middle school moves a little bit to the south.
To match up with Meadow Shopping Center?
That's correct.
Okay, what did you say about Evergreen?
It's closing.
That would be a dead end there?
It'll be a cul-de-sac, yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
And this is all in works, it's not like it's happening.
It's been awarded, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the project, like I said, the work is begun late last year with some utility relocation, and the work in earnest will begin at the conclusion of this school year, and then they have a real tight 2-month window to get the work done, early June to the first week of August.
I just have one question maybe for you, Ted. What does that mean for the traffic going southbound on Willow Creek coming from that hill? You know, because some people fly, and all of a sudden you're at a stoplight.
I guess my thing is we'll enforce the traffic laws there, but this has all been through a process, through planning, through zoning.
Right.
through
Okay, it's just,
Traffic commission, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, that's what's gonna happen, and we as the police will enforce the traffic laws and take care of everything that happens.
I'm just saying, you didn't want traffic backed up halfway to the hill, somebody comes over and.
There were studies done, and I wasn't part of
Okay. No problem, thank you.
And I have one question, just, have we been coordinating this too with the school? Okay, so they're aware?
Well, I can, that's my assumption.
Okay, because I know that there's.
They should be very aware of it. The property was acquired from the school
Okay.
for the project. That was one of the properties that needed to be acquired, so to align that intersection. So there was some land acquired. And land acquisition on this project probably occurred 2 years ago.
Okay.
So in a federal aid project, you know, from being awarded through everything, you know, it wouldn't be surprised if it's 5+ years. Central Avenue East that we're working to wrap up this year received federal funding a decade ago. So these things do take time. We are very far down the path on this project. But yes, they would have been notified, land would have been acquired. They know this project.
Okay, and I only ask because I know that there's some project work that's about to take place over at Willow Creek Middle School that you may want to coordinate.
The contractor will coordinate.
Okay, got it, all right. Thank you.
So we're looking for a motion to go forward with this agreement number 4?
Yes.
No. I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Fire Department acceptance of quotes for new quotes. So we have some here.
I'll come on up if that's.
Yes, please. So, you have to share some of these.
Yeah, I made 3 copies. Just to refresh your memory, about a month and a half ago or so, we requested permission to go ahead and start getting quotes for another fire department vehicle. Basically, we're looking for a vehicle that is going to be used by our battalion chief, who is our on-duty incident commander and on-duty chief. This is coming out of our EMS 441 capital non-reverting or reverting fund. So we're not asking for any special appropriations. It does fit within the scope of that fund. So we do have 3 quotes here. We have one from Lakeshore Ford, one from Team Chevrolet, and one from Thomas Dodge. What we'd like to do is go ahead and move forward with the Thomas Dodge quote of $30,316.
And Chief, when these specifications were written, the specifications were exactly the same for all 3 potential
So the
vendors?
type of vehicle that they have, yeah. We just put down some basic information that we wanted, and because it's not a sealed bid process, we basically took whatever comparable vehicle that each one of those dealers would offer. Because obviously a Dodge Ram isn't going to be 100% the same as a Ford truck.
But there are
Chevy
some
truck.
common denominators, like they're all
Yes.
V8s, or
Yep.
they're all automatic transmission. or
Yes,
they're
all those major things like those were all the same with every package.
Yeah, because I'm
Yes.
wondering why one bid came in significantly lower than the 43,000. What do you think
What,
caused that to
no,
happen?
the 3 bids are, the Team Chevrolet is $33,917 after
Right.
discounts.
Right.
The Ford is $35,339.
Oh, okay.
What you're showing is probably the end price before they give us a discount.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
So it's this
And
one.
then the Thomas Dodge is
Yeah,
$30,316.
then I was looking at the wrong figure. I apologize. That's
Yeah.
all
Sorry.
right.
Yeah, if you would price out each one of these trucks, they're probably all in excess of $40,000, so. So like I said, we'd like to move forward with the Thomas Dodge of $30,316.
I make a motion that we allow the fire department to pursue that bid, the Thomas Dodge, the new truck.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Thomas Dodge contract. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, if I could let you one more thing. You guys, as a board, you guys have said you wanted to be aware when we were applying for grants. We are applying, the fire department is applying for 2 grants right now. One is for a new tower truck, which in another meeting or 2, you're going to receive a rather large bill for maintenance on that truck. It's going to be in the area of about $40,000. It should be noted that if we, let's say we were awarded a grant for the purchase of a truck, we're 2 to 3 years out from getting the delivery of the truck. So it's money we do have to put into the truck, either that or keep it parked. So we have identified that we'd like to replace that, but it's going to take some help to do that, obviously. The grant we're looking at is a 90-10 grant, so it's 90% from FEMA and 10% matching funds from the local municipality. So we'll be looking at that one. The other one we're doing is a regional grant with Porter County 911, Portage Fire, Burns Harbor Fire, Porter County EMS, Valparaiso Fire, and Chesterton Fire. And what we're looking at is, and South Haven Fire. We're looking
what,
at
sir?
South Haven Fire
Okay.
is the other one. So it's 7 different organizations. We're acting as kind of the clearinghouse or the organizer of the whole thing, so we're writing the grant. It is for a station alerting system that can be used with the new 700 and 800 radio system that we migrated over to. That right now is in the area of about $750,000, and that is again a 90-10% matching. So the 10% obviously would come from all of the municipalities, whatever their share is, because it's broken down by cost by each municipality.
And you said that's, what's the grant? 750,000?
It's going to be about $750,000, yes. So again, these are just applications. They're very highly competitive grant process, so we may or may not get 1, 2, maybe none. So, but you wanted to be aware of them, so I didn't want to have it take you by surprise if we do have the good fortune of being awarded one of the grants. Okay?
Well, good luck.
Any
and
questions?
I-
Thank you.
I think we all appreciate the fact that you're out there trying to get these grants and help the city during a crunch time. I mean, I think it's great. I'm hoping you get both of these.
Thank you.
grants.
We do too. Thanks. All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Item E, managed IT contract. We have a couple of contracts that we've been looking at. Before we discuss that, I just want to say one thing, that this board has been doing their due diligence in a very big way. We've had many hours of meetings. So whichever company is selected, I would feel comfortable with either company. They both are exemplary. I've checked out their backgrounds. We've checked out their backgrounds. They have talked to our department heads. I don't think we're going to go wrong with either one of these managing our IT. So I'm hoping that we'll enter into a little bit of a discussion here, but I just want to thank this board for coming to all those meetings and spending all those hours and trying to do their due diligence before they make a decision. So I will open this up for discussion.
Well, I'll begin, I guess. Someone's got to start, right? Thank you, Mayor, for that acknowledgement. Yes, this board has taken this decision extremely seriously because of several reasons. One, you know, every city, every town, every entity has to have very professional and very adequate IT services. We have met with 2 vendors on a continued basis. We sort of left it in our last meetings with the vendors or discussions with the vendors. We felt we had to select a starting point if we're going to look at a new IT provider. And that starting point basically addressed two departments, Field Forces and Clerk Treasurer's Office, for some important reasons, as well as efforts that need to be implemented, initiatives that needed to be implemented in the entire city. So we reached out to both vendors to give us a price on that starting point. And it was communicated very clearly that this is where we felt we could begin, because we are currently under a contract, so we have to take that into consideration. So with that said, Proven IT is one of the vendors who is extremely professional, just like Impact. They are people that I think could, either one of them could be true IT partners, not just a vendor, and I know Mr. Lewis referred to that, and I think that's important, that we look for a partner and not just a vendor, someone that can work with us, that can evolve with us, that can, you know, appreciates what we're doing, and I think we have that in both cases, and I, you know, so I think we're fortunate that we have that situation. But in my opinion, Proven did a very good job reacting to that, to what we felt our priorities were. I've had several conversations with those folks, and they've always been extremely responsive. So what Proven is suggesting, looking at our most critical area, which is Clerk Treasurer's Office and the Field Forces, and then the initiatives involving the entire city, their monthly fee would be $14,133.05. And I think we have all of those, we have those numbers. I think that's a manageable starting point, and then we can evolve into adding on to that. I did raise the question because this is an overall contract for 5 years, and so this morning I reached out to Proven and asked them, what if we lease the equipment for 36 months, and to try to get that equipment satisfied a little bit faster, what would our payment be? And our payment then would be $16,533.92. So the equipment I'm talking about is the firewall at Field Forces, the access points, and one of our critical areas is improving internet access at Woodland Park. We've experienced some challenges there. And then the 138 workstations. So if we basically lease those for 36 months instead of 60, it's going to jump our payment up about $2,400 more a month. But we're going to, regardless whether it's 36 or 60, we own the equipment at the end of those time periods. So the question is, do you want to pay it off the equipment a little faster? Can you afford to do that? And it's like anything else. You're going to pay less money because we're going to save about $57,000 doing that math, because we're not going to have those payments in year 4 and 5. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay.
You're doing good.
Well, thank you. I thought about this a little bit.
We all have.
I know, right?
I know you have. I just felt that this is a good place to start the discussion.
Good job.
So, Impact had the same opportunity to provide a quote on what we call our critical areas. And I can't see that number. I don't see it in their information. I see their overall number if we did everything we on our wish list, but I'm not seeing that number. So I think I've said enough at this point to get the ball rolling. So I would appreciate my colleagues' comments as well.
I will say that with Proven, everything that Scott just said is a ditto for me, and Proven IT specifically. And even with Impact, when we originally entered into some discussions with them, there was some work that needed to be done on the front end, I believe, that had already been taking place, which was an assessment. And even through that assessment, I'm not sure we received all of the details that we needed to receive from that organization. So I am definitely in agreement about Proven IT, about the partnership.
I will say this. I said I was going to be quiet, but that's one thing I feel I need to say. Proven, Impact got paid to do an assessment. Fine. Proven was willing to come in, realizing that assessment was important, and to do it very thoroughly, very quickly, and didn't charge us anything.
Kind of follow up on that, I think along with that was just the level of partnership I thought Proven provided. The impact, we didn't, I don't think this Board of Works approved for that $5,000 proposal, but I just felt the level that Proven gave us was what we need. They did listen. I thought they were much more personable about their contact within the departments. I think the only way IT works is if all the people who use it actually can use it. And the one thing I've observed by both proposals, I should say, was they found essentially the same thing. They recommended about the same thing. It's just Proven, I really do think, Proven IT, I do think after the meetings and the bids, that they'll have much better buy-in. And we need this to work. We need this to work the first time. And we need to be able to build. And in my opinion, I think that Proven will be the one that can do that for us and with us.
Well, I've been debating this for some days here. I felt they both were equally professional when they came in, but you got to remember they're salesmen. They're salesmen will sell you anything. I was a salesman. So basically what we wanted is, like Scott said, we just need what is critical right now, because we're not here to spend any extra money or anything. And as he said, we got the quote for Proven, and I think on a level that they would be a real partner with the city and be there. I kind of put my trust and faith in them.
The other question I asked was if we enter into a 5-year lease on the equipment and the managed IT portion, and we decide we want to pay off that equipment earlier. We want to up our payment and get it, rewrite the equipment side. Are there any penalties? And the answer was no, there are no penalties. So we can, we could enter into the lowest fee point at this point, the $14,133, just throwing this out as an option. And then if we feel we're in a better financial position, we may be able to get that equipment paid for faster without any penalty. So I think that's the best of both worlds when it comes to the equipment side of things.
So again, I think for those of you who are watching this live stream, you can see that this board has really done their homework. And the one thing I want to say is that both of these companies said to me that that was quite extraordinary to have so much participation in a project. So that is the dedication that this board has had in making the right decision. And at no time ever did I ever indicate to them what my preference was. I wanted them to think on their own, and that was why I picked the board I did. And I'm very happy with how they have participated and worked hard to make a good decision for our city. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Are we okay, Dan?
Yes, I thought I would ask one thing, Madam Chairman, that whatever that motion is, that it be contingent upon my review of the contract. There's a couple things. Scott's brought up a couple of good points about, early termination or early payoff and no penalties and all the stuff that I look for with these contracts. Plus, I want to contemplate with the new vendor the transition from the current contract that we're in and kind of work all that stuff out to make sure it works.
So, and just for your information, Dan has been at the majority of these meetings as well. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything correctly, and I believe we have. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we enter into a contract agreement with Proven IT, that we involve our city attorney to help us in that transition and review of any contract before its final approval. Our attorney would give us his blessing on that, but more importantly, this transition, because we are currently in a contract, that we want to make sure that we're not violating any contract and that we're doing this properly. So when the timing is right, then we will, move from, if the board feels, move from our existing vendor to a new vendor. But I want to state that at this point, my motion includes the option of $14,133.05, which is the third option. I just labeled it the third option that was provided by Proven IT.
And I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Nina, could you please take a roll?
Sure. Member Finley?
Yes.
Member Lewis?
Yes.
Member Sonity?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and the energy that you put into this project. I feel that the public needs to know that we are doing our due diligence, and we indeed did that.
I would like to thank the mayor, quite frankly, for giving us that leeway to make this decision and not feel that we had to, that we weren't some kind of rubber stamp. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
I do. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, item F, IRS penalties and interest for the 2016 1095Cs.
Madam Chairman, if I could, as you recall from yesterday's meeting with the City Council, the IRS visited upon us with a demand for penalties and threat of levy effective this Friday if we didn't pay the money. In 2016, for whatever reason, the city failed and refused to file the 1095Cs that are required as part of the insurance that we have. And after apparently repeated attempts by the IRS to get those 1095-Cs filed. They just never were. So there can be some great debate of those who were in office in the mayor's office or the clerk treasurer's office as to who had notice and who failed or dropped the ball, but the fact of the matter is the city didn't do it. So there were attempts last year by the prior administration to hire counsel and accountants to try to deal with the IRS to mitigate the loss or penalties. Those apparently and unfortunately did not come to fruition, and so the IRS indicated this week or last week to the clerk that, Nina, correct me if I'm wrong, negotiations are not in the cards, not on the table. You pay this money or we levy your accounts on Friday. If you are real nice and had all kinds of time, we might be able to work out a payment plan, but of course that requires the payment of interest. So our options are very few, and so at this point I would ask that the Board of Works approve the payment of this, because I can't at this point, given what we've been handed, come up with any other suggestions.
So what is that exact amount?
Nina?
$190,691.39.
And that is just for 2016.
And just to be clear, the 1095-Cs are basically this: such and such works here, such and such worked during these months in 2016. The end. That's the form. So
Everybody's getting in the mail.
yeah, I just don't understand what happened back then, and we can't put the genie back in the bottle, unfortunately, but it's just something that we were handed coming into office. So here we are.
Nina, do you have anything further to add to that?
Payroll Friday.
And I'll just say that I did have a chance, well, an opportunity last night to watch some of the discussion. So maybe if you could, Clerk Treasurer, just say how we're going to fund this and pay for this.
So this will
That'll
be
be
paid.
helpful.
This will be paid. We get monies from our sanitary and stormwater boards for payment in lieu of taxes. We usually get those distributions twice a year, so we'll just get in advance.
Thank you.
Are we, I don't know how to ask this, what about 17 and 18?
Wonderful question, and that was a discussion for another day. But the IRS hasn't gotten to 17 and 18 yet.
Well, we have to pay it.
I'll make a motion that we pay the IRS the money for forms they weren't filed 3 years ago, in the sum of $190,000 plus that.
So, do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
have a second. I have a question for Nina. How will this be sent? Will this be sent electronically? Will they get it on
Yes,
Friday?
wire it to them.
So you can wire it to them, okay. So, I guess, can you send this board verification that that's been wired?
Absolutely.
So that we have that, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please do a roll call vote on that, Nina, please.
I just wanted a question. For Dan, whose responsibility would that be? The clerk's? Or the?
So here's what I know. I mean, we know that the IRS indicates it sent several notices, and those notices get less friendly each time they come. In all likelihood, they would have come to the clerk treasurer's office, and the clerk treasurer would have been the one responsible for doing those. So that the responsibility falls soundly with the clerk treasurer. I don't know what the confusion was back then. I don't know if the mayor's office got notification. Not sure. We do know that Mayor Cannon had notification because he's the one that employed Ice Miller to try to deal with negotiating this. I just don't know when. I don't know when they got notice, but But it's soundly, we know the clerk treasurer's office would have gotten notice because it's the
Dan,
responsibility.
is clerk treasurer, is that a bonded position?
It is a bonded position. And are seeking varying things from the bond.
Okay.
Member Finley?
Yes.
Member Lewis?
Yes.
Member Sonity?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes.
Okay, we hope we don't have to address that again. Major illness. Dan, do we have major illnesses?
We have some, not as much as last time, which is good. I think we're 4, better than 16. And the good news is that they were all filled out correctly. So I was able to sign them all. So that's good. We're getting better.
5.
5, I stand corrected. There's 5. So just 5. So yes, I would ask that the Board of Works approve the major illnesses. I've gone through them all, and they all seem to pass muster with our requirements.
Make a motion that the 5 major illnesses that our attorney has reviewed be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve major illness claims. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This is the public hearing time. If the public has anything they would like to come forward and speak, please step up to the podium and state your name, please.
My name is Raymond Lawrence. I live in unincorporated Portage. I requested a permit to scrap for the city, in the city limits, and I was granted that permit, or permission to get the permit, at the last meeting. And I have been unable to obtain it because nobody else knows what's going on. They said they sent information to the legal department and they have not got back to them. So I'm still trying to get my permit.
This is a discussion you had in the building department, Mr. Lawrence?
Well, I was stopped by a policeman January the 2nd. I was picking up scrap metal laying on the side of the road. And he told me I had to put it back.
No, I'm speaking about the effort to get the permit. Where did
Right.
you go in City Hall?
Right to the left office there. When you go in the city
The
hall.
building department?
No, it's
Right.
the clerk treasurer's office.
Oh, okay.
And
So it had gotten approved, the permit, for him to apply for the permit, but then after looking at the ordinance, when he came in to try to get it, one of the girls brought to the attention that the ordinance says that the vehicle has to have a closed container.
a
So-
closed-in van, like a garbage truck.
Hmm.
But I don't have a garbage truck, I have a pickup truck.
Yeah. Well,
Correct.
the clerk treasurer, the individual in the clerk treasurer's office, in my opinion, was doing their job because they pulled the ordinance and reviewed the ordinance. And that's why we have ordinances, to make sure that the safety of our residents and other, many reasons why we have ordinances. The only, I don't know. What do you recommend, Mr. Attorney, at this point?
Well, so I did have an opportunity to speak with the clerk a little bit about this, and it does require, the contained vehicle. I mean, either, the legal opinion is either he meets the requirements of the permit or he doesn't, and if he doesn't, then he doesn't. I can't, it's pretty specific, actually.
If I was chiming in too, if they were to issue a permit as it says, one of my fellows makes a stop and if they're not operating within the ordinance, you're gonna get a ticket anyhow. You understand what I mean? So if you got the permit, that's fine, but the permit has to fit within the ordinance, you'd have to be an enclosed vehicle, would it be an enclosed trailer, an enclosed, however the ordinance reads, don't quote me on that, I don't have it committed to memory. So now's the time to work this stuff out so you can do it with it. So that's actually a really wise thing from your office, is to avoid a headache later when there's an actual citation.
Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but, okay, thank you.
I'm sorry about that,
It's
sir.
probably only for safety purposes.
Yeah, definitely safety.
Right.
Falling out there. Metal.
I mean, if you want me to, I can certainly look at the meeting with the ordinance committee seeing if there's some room to move, but the fact of the matter is, it's as it stands.
I think the way it was set up, Dan, was for safety reasons. We don't want to open the scrap metal.
Well, there is that. You don't want scrap metal coming through your windshield. That's a
Yes.
good point, Steve.
Yes.
So I think.
The public safety issue.
Yeah.
Sir?
Okay. I'm Dave Irons, live here in Portage. An item that came up at the last Board of Works meetings that only really perked my ear because I was in the storage business in Washington DC area for like 15 years. So the item that came up, whether we're spending $1,700 a month to store 130 boxes in Illinois, really, it's like, have we had any follow-up on that yet? As far as $1,700 a month is just, I mean, is it in the vaulted room or what? I mean,
So we're still working on that. And
Okay.
there's some of that's data storage and some of that's hard storage, and we're ironing it all out. So we're not quite there yet.
okay, very good.
And we don't know, but it could be like a climate control, because it could be stuff in there that needs to be preserved. So it may not just be somebody's garage or something.
Well, sure.
It's
But
probably a facility that is
Yeah.
capable of housing documents.
Okay, but even climate controlled, even in the Washington DC area, 130 boxes, $300 a month, and I'll take the storage any day.
I hear you.
So,
We are looking into that, seriously.
okay, all right. very
Piqued
good.
our interest too.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has any comments? If not, we will approve the claims with an addition, because Nina, I don't see the $190,000 on the
Right.
claim sheet.
Diana didn't have a copy of the claim from the IRS, so we can amend it on the top sheet.
Okay. So we will need a motion to approve the claims with the addition of the $190,691.39 for the IRS payment.
I'll make a motion that we approve the claims. I think we have some questions on those claims that we'll
Yes.
bring forward after this, at the appropriate time. But to have this particular claims docket include the IRS payment, so my motion will include that, of $190,691.39.
So we have a motion, and do we have a second? Any further discussion on the claims?
Yes.
Yes.
First page, CDW Government Police Computer Tech for $9,000.
That's the police station.
That's what?
Computer issue that we had.
With the Windows 10 license.
That was moving them to Windows 10, Scott. That was that.
Just asking.
Yeah. They were upgraded, and that was a licensing fee.
Is that separate than the other stuff we have talked about?
Yes.
We had a deadline of March 31st to have our entire system upgraded to Windows 10, or we lost CGIS compliance.
Okay.
Which meant that we no longer had any security whatsoever. And frankly, we couldn't wait for the rest of the city. We had to get it done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the computer on the second page, the Dell computer, is that the same?
That is something separate. That is a bill that was a hiccup, frankly. We made that purchase in January, and I didn't get the invoice until recently. I think it's for $1,046.
47.
Okay, that was for a forensic, for a laptop computer that was capable to use forensic examination software for cell phones.
Okay.
And it's been assigned to our detective bureau so we can download cell phones and do some of our magic.
On page 5, MP Cloud Technologies, Cable TV, Professional Services, Advanced Claim Fee for $360.20. Someone explain that?
It's for ambulance billing. and
Yeah.
claims.
Ambulance billing?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Randy, I saw we paid for all the salt.
Yes, there was a bill for $4,000. I've been keeping track of our
total salt for the year, so we're looking at probably about a $248,000 bill. And that's been average about over the past 8 years.
Okay. So is the butter and the popcorn on the way?
Yeah.
And then I have a question on page 4 about, just curious, why do we order, what's the use of chloride?
That's calcium chloride.
Okay, gotcha.
We use that along with our salt to, during the cold snaps, when we salt roads, we mix that chloride with the salt, so it drops the effectiveness of the melting point during those cold snaps, so calcium chloride.
And then code inspections, that's on page 3. It's about $2,500. Code inspections for, it's about $2,500. I'll give you more detail here in a minute. I wrote it down in my book.
That was the Larson Group?
The Larson Group, yes.
The Larson Group, there was a claim that I reviewed today. It was almost $4,000. It was on truck 403. We had some engine issues with that, so we did take it into the Larson Group and they repaired that. That truck is now operational. One of our automation trucks.
Was that codes that came up on the computer on the vehicle?
Yes, the EMC needed to be updated, the software on the truck. So, yes.
And then my last one is on page 5. This is going to be fire station, and it's about bids. How many bids, just out of curiosity, is that 1 bid, 2 bids?
No, I think that's 5.
5,
That was
okay.
actually something that was appropriated last year.
Okay.
And the money got spent on something else, so we had to do reappropriations for this year.
Okay. How often do we replace them? I'm just curious.
Every year we replace the beds.
Okay.
I mean, we try to keep from having to replace 30 at one time, so every year we'll replace 3 or 4 or 5.
Okay, thank you.
We're trying to find a bed that lasts a while.
Right, I get it.
I have a question on page 11, AT&T Mobility. I guess these are cell phones for the fire station. Before I ask my final question regarding that, I just want to say that Debbie and I yesterday spent an hour and a half going through the 2019 vendor list, everybody we did business with. We did that for several reasons. One, just to get a handle on how much money we're spending, whether we have a contract or an agreement in place. We're probably going to be looking at invoicing. We're mainly looking at this for budget purposes. You know, be looking at specific invoices related to those vendors. And one of the things that we want to look at in a little more detail are cell phones. Chief, who uses in your department cell phones?
Those cell phones are for our vehicles. The reason we switched over to AT&T is we were with Verizon. We ended up switching over to AT&T, found a bunch of phones and jetpacks that we were being charged for that weren't even ours. And they weren't even, nobody could find them, okay? So we moved over to AT&T, it was cheaper. They're also part of the FirstNet program, which means when there's a federal disaster or any type of disaster, one of the first phone systems that the federal government is going to get up is the AT&T FirstNet system. They're not going to worry about Verizon. They're not going to worry about T-Mobile or all those other. They're going to bring up FirstNet first. So we went with those phones, same price. The difference is it gives us unlimited data on those phones in the vehicles, which also gives us mapping and everything else on the phone.
When you say vehicles, is that ambulance, fire trucks?
Engine 2, Engine 3, Ladder 1, ambulances, Fire 5, those vehicles, yes. And it's strictly for use on calls and mapping and things like that.
And that's the monthly fee for all of
Yes.
the cell phones you use?
Yes, and one thing we are doing is we are migrating over from Verizon to everything being on AT&T for us, because right now our vehicles, the MDT is actually on Verizon. I know it's kind of confusing. The MDT is actually on Verizon because before, the only system that dispatch can operate under was through the Verizon system. They opened that up and now we can be on any provider. So AT&T gives us more flexibility. It's cheaper. The signal is much better on the FirstNet system that they have, so we're migrating those over as well. So that we will get all of our cell services on AT&T, probably within, actually we're moving toward it right now.
All right, thank you, Chief. I don't have any other questions on the topic.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the claims with the addition of the $190,691.39 to the IRS. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to make a comment to you department heads, there's council members, there's the police chief. I'm really proud from just the meetings we have so far this year that you are looking into any way to save the city money and restructuring things and finding problems. AJ, Ted, and the work that Debbie and Scott are doing on the council. That's what it's all about. We're here to restructure and save as much money as we can for the city. And I just wanted to thank you guys for continuing work.
I'll kind of piggyback on that. I think the clerk treasurer, Nina, has been doing an unbelievable job just running the clerk treasurer's office, at the same time dealing with the past rabbit holes. There is no real way to express, my appreciation to her for the hours that she is putting in. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, I forgot about Nina. Well, we have a clerk treasurer. That's all I have to say.
And I think with what we're doing, things will get better in time. We've only been here not even 3 months, so I think that we're working faithfully every day to try to fix the things that we're finding, and so I think we're just going to keep on that path, and things are going to get better for us. So.
And I'd just like to say thank you for being present, to be able to be here to answer our questions, especially when we have some, because we're new. And so I think once our depth of knowledge and we get more experience, the questions will start to decrease. But just depth of knowledge right now, we're trying to learn.
So if there is nothing further for the Board of Works, I will call for an adjournment.
I'll second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
You are greatly appreciated.